Hey Mason, what's going on? Just getting the stream ready. And with that, welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Destiny 2. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and salutations. Today, I should have taken that right turn at Albuquerque. Let's get to it. So Destiny 2, I think, has had a bumpy road from day one until the current day. And we're going to talk about what's going right, what's going wrong, and maybe some things that they can do to change their formula to make things better. For new players, for existing players, for grizzled old veterans that have played the stuffing out of it. And I think we're going to talk first about PvP, Crucible, and everything that goes with it. Crucible, I think, has seen the largest amount of broken things in the game, ranging from Lord of Wolves, Prometheus Lens, the Spare Rations, the Recluse, Striker Titans, One-Eyed Mask, and the list just seems to go on. So if an item is going to break, it seems like it breaks in the Crucible. Now, I think there's meta weapons, and there's always going to be meta weapons. It's just the way it is. And I think that they've taken some steps to make it a little bit less so. Well, good morning, George. George says, hey, I resemble that remark. Which remark? There's lots of them. But I think Bungie's taken steps to kind of make weapons a little bit less meta, which is both good and bad, because you have weapons that are more useful in the Crucible, weapons that are less useful in the Crucible. But when you have all weapons that are more or less equal, it tends to be a little bit more bland, and there's not as much reason to try to get other weapons. But there are still weapons that are, I think, head and shoulders above others. I said grizzled old veterans, not grizzled old players. Man, there must be a lot of people trying to get into the tower right now. Certain subclasses are more useful in the Crucible than others. For instance, if you're using the Arc Strider, the middle one actually works really well, because when you activate your super, you can twirl the staff and bounce bullets off so you don't get damaged. Way of the Trapper, not as useful. This middle one tends to be the one that everyone uses, with the spectral blades where you can go invisible and slash at people and take them out. Gold Gun, you see a lot of the Blade Barrage, and then you see a lot of the top tree. The bottom tree, even though it was redone, it doesn't seem to be as useful. Occasionally you do see people running around with a weighted knife, but not so much. George says loading's been slow last couple of days. Yeah, I wonder if that has something to do with the update, the hotfix that they put into place. Or if they're just kind of doing some background maintenance, and so some of the servers are offline. So we can say in general that the servers are maybe a little bit slow, and that's more of a general than a PvP. But that certainly takes into account if you have server latency that is going to cause problems with your overall experience. Because you'll say, oh, I hit that guy. Why didn't he flinch? And he took me out with his sniper rifle. Well, it's because the bullet didn't land until after he already shot you, or after what he thought shot you. Supers. Alright. Ability kills. Generate orbs. Control. Scout rifles. Pulse rifles, of course. Super melee, I don't like that in Titan. Alright, so when you're looking at meta weapons, there's still quite a few good weapons. You still see the Ace of Spades a decent amount, Malfeasance some of the time, not that often. Like the broadsword, you don't really see at all. Spare rations, you used to see a lot of it, and you still see it once in a while, but not as often as you used to. Mainly for the kinetic slot, you see a lot of Randy's throwing knife. That tends to be the one that you see a lot of. Pulse rifles, you see blast furnace. You see, let's see, where is it at? I like the Swift Ride, but also, I think I passed it up. There it is. Claws of the Wolf. And then power weapons, you see the Colony a lot. You see Wardcliff Coil. It's still strong. And then you see some linear fusion. I don't think you see that many. Power weapons just don't feel as powerful as they used to, especially when you're only getting one or two at a time. Yeah, bad juju. I don't really see that much bad juju. And I'm not really sure why that happens to be the case. Bad juju's okay. It's full auto, so that certainly helps. But I don't think it's as good as a lot of the other weapons, especially like Randy's at medium to long distance. Alright, so PvP, they've taken strides to make it better. They've kind of dedicated this next few seasons from Shadowkeep on to making it better. Survival, control, you have rotator, ones that change from week to week. So you have things like Mayhem, Countdown, etc. So in terms of that, you get something a little bit different every week, not necessarily something new. So that's really good. On the downside, and can we just say that those extra bounties that you pick up from the vendors are really punishing you twice, because you have to pay more for it. Instead of the 200 glimmer or whatever, you're paying 3,000 glimmer. And then if you look at, I know I had one for supers or ability kills. Oh, here we go. So 3 ability kills, and that's anything. And then one of the extra ones I had, like super Yeah, 3 super kills. So not difficult necessarily, but if it had been a daily, it would be like 1. So they make it a little bit more punishing getting the extra ones, and that's partially because those extras give you bright dust. And that is a whole nother section of the game that we could talk about, Eververse. But we're not there quite yet. So Crucible, I think they've taken strides to make it better, but I think they need to revamp some of the maps because you have players or teams that tend to hang out in one section of the map, especially on certain control maps. But in general, so the maps, I don't think they need to be just scrapped, but I think they do need to be reworked a little bit to make them certain locations less meta. And honestly, I think that the Crucible should be almost an entire entity in and of itself. The rules and play styles, and sub skills should be a little bit different in Crucible than anywhere else. Basically because of all the problems, all the things that break in the Crucible, and all the things that can go wrong or do go wrong. You know, the Telestos and the one-eyed mask, and things that don't necessarily get fixed right away. And if they fix it here and they nerf Crucible, then PvE also suffers as well.
Enemy claimed Zone C. You captured Zone A. You gained the lead. Zone B captured. Zone advantage is yours.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I forgot.
Your advantage grows. Stay strong.
Why do they always come for me?
Zone B lost. You captured Zone C. You have zone advantage. Zone A lost.
Oh, there's 2 of them. Yeah, that's another one. Jade Rabbit. You see a lot of that. I think people have certain guns that they like to use in Crucible. So if you're more familiar with it, you're more likely to use it.
Zone B captured. You have advantage. Zone A captured.
Baloney. Anyway, but if you've got latency issues, it's gonna make it difficult, server side or on your side. Either you're gonna get taken out a lot because you're
Two for one.
nice.
If you want it, this battle is yours. Take it.
Uh-oh. I'm getting shot from 2 angles. That's never good.
Zone B lost. Zone A lost. You captured Zone A. You have zone advantage.
Shoot it.
Zone C lost.
There we go.
Two for one.
Ah! Yeah, you gotta love that. What the heck?
Zone A lost. Your enemy has a power play. Zone B captured. 5 minutes remain. A strong start. Fight on.
Hey, pulse rifle slayer.
You captured Zone A. You
Gotcha.
have advantage.
Nice.
Strength in numbers, Guardian. Excellent.
Oh, crying out loud.
Your enemy can't kill if they're dead. Zone B lost.
Yep. Ooh. Ah, Jade Rabbit. Uh-oh.
3 minutes. Zone C captured.
And down he goes.
Have advantage. Zone C lost.
Ouch. That was interesting. Oh, you're using the
Zone
sniper
C
rifle, that's why.
captured. You have zone advantage.
Yeah, it's basically
A
over.
well-fought victory.
Anyway, I think they need to make Crucible its own entity with its own loadouts, its own mods, etc. Just because I think that that is just the way it is and the way it has to be. Because if you want to change something in Crucible, you can do so without it affecting the rest of the game. Crucible is the only PvP slot, but there are different modes, and if everything else be told, it sounds like the trials are coming back, so it really makes sense to make that change at that time or before that time rather than try to keep everything balanced between PvP and PvE. Because when they try to bring one thing back in line in the Crucible, all of a sudden it becomes useless in PvE. And some of the strongest weapons that are in PvP are also some of the strongest weapons in PvE. Things like the Recluse were extremely useful in PvE, whether it was Nightfall, or a dungeon, or a raid. Now, not so much, but it's been through 2 rounds of nerfs. I think the mountaintop is still useful, but it's not as useful as it used to be. You used to be able to use it in conjunction with the Recluse. So if you didn't hit someone directly with the mountaintop, you could finish them off with the Recluse. Since the Recluse is not as useful as it used to be, that diminishes the mountaintop as well. You don't see as many people using the one-eyed mask now, which honestly is good.
You captured Zone A. Enemy claimed Zone C.
What the heck? You're trying to get me killed. Nice. Oh, seriously?
Zone B captured. You have zone advantage.
Yeah. But if you have bad latency, or if the server has bad latency, you're not going to have a good... Not going to have a good time.
Go, make them cry.
Oh, come on! Hate when that happens. Yeah, Luna's Howl, Not Forgotten, is still strong in the Crucible. Oh, I should really change that since I'm done with pulse rifles. Wow. Nice try, buddy. Yeah, how'd that go work out for you?
You're pulling ahead. Keep it that way. Strength in numbers, Guardian. Excellent.
Now everyone's over
Zone
here
A
and they're
lost.
grabbed
Zone
A.
advantage is yours.
Nice.
Hunters like you blaze a path for the rest of us.
Where was he? He just popped up out of nowhere. As per usual.
You're breaking them. Zone B lost.
Whoa. That was like 2 shots. But he might have shot me 4 times. I mean, that's the thing about latency.
No victory is certain, Guardian. Stand your ground.
Come on, seriously? I'm pretty sure that guy's got some lag issues going on. Because there's no way you can shoot a bow that accurately and that easily, even with targeting. That and all the frickin' jumping people do. He's right there.
Captured. You have zone advantage.
Oh, man.
Zone C lost.
What's going on at C? Why didn't anyone get it back? There's nobody here. Uh-oh, they're on B. Hello?
You captured Zone C. You have advantage. Zone B lost.
Ugh.
3 minutes remaining. Stoke the fire, Guardian, or they'll take your lead.
Wow. Only took 3 of you to take me out? Yeah, and while I was doing that, no one went for B. Oh, they're going to B now.
Zone B captured. You have zone advantage.
Did I just lose sound? No. Yeah, how'd that work out for you? Whoa. Oh, Bastion. Here I'm like, what the heck happened there? Oh, I can't do it because I got that.
Zone B lost. Only 1 minute left.
It's gonna be close.
You've got 30 seconds.
Oh, for crying out loud, he wasn't even aiming at me.
Seconds. I could not ask for a better victory.
Yeah, so that's Crucible.
Impressive.
And, I mean, there's an argument to be made about other things with the Crucible, like, oh, you don't... some people really like Crucible, and that's really the only thing that they play, and then there's other people that don't like Crucible that would rather not play it at all. So there's certainly something to be said about some of the guns that you have to go into Crucible in order to get. So I wouldn't mind seeing alternate paths for especially previous pinnacle weapons and or ritual weapons where you had to go into the Crucible or Strikes or Gambit, and maybe now that their seasons past, you can expand it out into other, at least other playlists. Either go through Strikes or Gambit to get the Luna's Howl, if that's what you want to do. I think that would be a nice option. Now, talking about Gambit, we also have to talk about Gambit Prime and the Reckoning. I think for the most part, most people either like or dislike Gambit. And that's not really what we're talking about. Gambit is a little bit longer, and between Gambit and Gambit Prime, I think people will enjoy Gambit Prime better, if only for the fact that it is a little bit faster to do. Rather than 3 rounds, it's only 1 round. There's no intermissions, etc. So it's just get into the action. Additionally, Gambit Prime, you have the Gambit Prime armor. So looking at it's probably going to interrupt me while I'm doing this. Gambit. Alright, so you've got like the collector set, the sentry set, the invader set, and the reaper set, and they all have different perks associated with it. And it only works in Gambit Prime. It does not work in Gambit, doesn't work in Crucible, etc., etc. Things like you drop some of your motes when you die, you lock the opposing team's bank when you invade, you mark invaders or high value targets when you hit them with your weapon. Things that give you a little bit more of advantage when you're playing Gambit Prime. And who wouldn't want a little bit of a bonus, a perk, or an advantage while they're playing a game mode? So I think the Gambit Prime armor is a nice idea, but I think Gambit Prime as a whole is a little bit more flawed than Gambit. You have a lot more orange bar and yellow bar enemies in Gambit Prime, so it takes a little bit longer to take them out. And, of course, as a result of that, you have a longer time to kill, more ammo that is being used, and I think it feels a little bit bullet spongy. Now, previously we had, for about a month, the Wish Ender being one of the prized weapons to use in Gambit. And that's because Wish Ender was broken, and instead of hitting targets twice, it would hit it 3 times, 5 times, 6 times. Plus, you did more damage to Taken, which of course the Primeval, Envoys, Blockers, those were all taken, so you were doing more damage to them. An example of a weapon or piece of armor that was broken outside of the Crucible. So as a whole, I think Gambit Prime does a good job of getting you into the action and having more to do, I guess I want to say, because of that whole getting tokens from Gambit Prime and then taking the tokens and taking them into the Reckoning, and then from the Reckoning you take those pieces of armor that you would get and bring them back into Gambit Prime. So in terms of that, I kind of like what they did with Gambit Prime, but because of some of the problems with the Gambit Prime, plus you have that whole invulnerability with the Primeval, so you would get like 1 stack of Slayer after you took out 3 Envoys, and then you had, you know, X amount of time to do damage to the Primeval, and then it would go invulnerable, and then you'd have to do it over and over again. And it could be a little bit frustrating when you did some damage to the Primeval, and then Invader comes over, takes you out, heals the Primeval, and just undoes all the damage that you did. I mean, it's the same way in Gambit, but the difference is that in Gambit, you don't have that invulnerability stage where you're sitting there and just trying to get to a point where you could do damage to the Primeval. So all in all, I think Gambit is a better mode than Gambit Prime. However, I would like to see some elements of Gambit Prime in Gambit. Have some sort of armor that would give you buffs. That would be nice. Get rid of the intermission. So all you're doing is going into Gambit and doing the action. Go in round 1, kill some guys, bank some moats, take out the primeval. Round 2, go straight back in. Like, yep, you took out the primeval, do it again. And then if you go to the round 3, then you go just like it does now, sudden death, and you get your super right away, primeval comes up right away, take them out, and then you're done. Cabal bosses and Hive, I don't like you. Bow, Void,
Don't let it go to waste.
Scout Rifle, Pulse Rifle. Alright, so bow. I think the bow I have is Void. Yep. Scout Rifle.
Indeed.
And Pulse Rifle is the other one? Yes. So although Gambit has its problems, Gambit Prime, I think, has larger problems that you have to consider. Alright, now we're on to really the meat of the matter, and that's PvE. Starting off with strikes, but PvE doesn't end there. You're also talking about
The drifters' activities are
Flashpoint, talking about free roam, you're talking about raids, you're talking about nightfall, nightmare hunts, talking about the seasonal activity, which right now is the sundial. You just have a lot going on with PvE. Arc Singe.
Guardian, what have you learned of the pyramid?
Because of course it is. Oh, I should probably get some. Then you have things like that, where you already finished a activity, and then all of a sudden you go somewhere and you go back to orbit, and then you got something that you should have gotten before. All right. Talking about free roam, there is a huge amount of real estate in the Destiny universe. Talking about EDZ, Mars, Io, Titan, Mercury, the Moon, Nessus, Dreaming City, Tangled Shore, plus all the lost sectors and all the strikes and all the nooks and crannies that people don't really pay a lot of attention to, I would say. I do need to switch out that super. And this one. Plus patrols. So you've got a large amount of real estate, but not a whole lot to do. If EDZ is not the flashpoint, there really is not a big reason to go to the EDZ. Other than if you're missing out on dusk shards and you need some dusk shards for whatever. Or dusklight shards, excuse me. And that's the same for any of the planets. If you're missing planetary resources, that's certainly a reason to go. You can get the bounties from the vendor there. And then, of course, have some sort of detector for resources, combo detector or cache detector. They both give you planetary resources. If you have a scanner, that gives you a chance of getting more resources. And, of course, doing those bounties will get you 10 apiece. But otherwise, it doesn't really make sense to go to the EDZ when it's not the flashpoint, or go to Mercury when it's not the flashpoint. If it's not the flashpoint, you don't really have a lot of reason to go there. Likewise, there's not a lot of reason to go exploring through these different areas.
Infestations start small. Vermin go scuttling through your home, and you think,
I should be able to get hive kills here at least.
next thing you know,
Unless people are running through.
Guardians, I. And you dream of ways to exterminate them.
This guy's kind of
I've
trying to run through.
nest deep into my shore. Destroy it.
Nice.
And I'll consider it a partial reparation of your debts.
Ugh. One of the biggest gripes I have is a lot of these bounties that you get now are, not all of them, but quite a few of them, and it seems like there's more and more as we've been going along, is that you need final blows. So you need bow final blows, or scout rifle final blows, or you need super final blows, or what have you. And that is not a cooperative mechanic. The mechanics for even doing strikes and whatnot, you have people that go through the strikes and go through as quickly as they possibly can. You have people that go through...
Spider,
Oh, there
we've
we
got
go.
Fallen in here.
They're not mine. Shoot it well.
You have people that don't go through that end up staying at the beginning area because it's a public area, and you have enemies that continue to spawn and respawn. Ugh. Oop. Nobody wants to shoot the wizard. Have I not gotten the... How many kills do I need with this thing? It went down. Oh, I do believe it's... Yeah, it's blackout. This is a great one for that. There you go. That. There we go. We got bow.
Detecting elevated levels of ether in that night.
Come on. So much for deadly reach.
Strange. The worm is infected with ether too.
Feeder Captain. Cursed thrall. Poison at night.
you. What was the other one that I did? Pulse rifle kills? Yeah, I'm probably going to switch out from this once I get my scout rifle kills. One of the big things with PvE is that you have this power curve that when you're low compared to the activity, you really feel like you're at a disadvantage. But when you are above, at one point you no longer feel like you're at an advantage. There we go. Nice that it's Grenadier. So let's say that you're at 750 and you're doing an activity that is 800. You really feel like you're at a disadvantage where you're getting hit hard by the enemies. On the flip side of that, though, if you are doing an activity that's 800 and you're 850, you no longer feel like you are any stronger. I'm gonna put this on, even though it's arc. I know I have solar kills that I have to do. What happened? Uh-oh. I think it fell through the floor. Or they let it blow up, one or the other. Anyway, so your activity is at 800. At 750, you feel like you're at a severe disadvantage where you're not able to complete it, or it's very, very difficult to complete. At 800, I think you still feel like you're at a disadvantage. I don't think you feel like it's an even challenge. I think you feel like you're still at a disadvantage. But let's say that you're even. About 810, you have the highest amount of advantage that you're going to have, and then anything beyond that doesn't do anything for you. Yeah. I think it's glitched. I don't think we can do anything more. So even though you're 950 and the activity is 800, you still don't feel any more powerful than you did when you were 810. So I think that is a serious problem and something that they should look at addressing If an activity is 750 and you're 950, there should be very little reason for you to have to worry about going down. But yet, that happens quite often. I wanted to look at my bounties. Super abilities, that's fine. Precision shots, that's fine. Solar damage. Scout rifle is almost done. And then, of course, pulse rifle. Melee. Melee. And this is what? Cabals and strikes. Hive and strikes. I don't really like the way that they do these weeklies with the... Just have 3 strikes and be done with it. Don't say Cabal bosses or Hive, because it's completely random. You have no control over it unless you do one specific one. So you end up having to do 4 strikes, 3 on the playlist, and 4 for whatever you're missing, whether it's Hive kills or Cabal boss or what have you. So in PvE, power doesn't always matter. Once you get to a certain point, it doesn't matter anymore. Once you're 10 points over the highest activity level, which right now the pinnacle activities are 980. So once you hit 990, it's done. It's over. You don't have to do anything more. Oop, there they are.
For me to step out. Hey, I leave it to you.
Okay, fire team. There's a lot to cover as your official
Someone's
operative
doing a
striking
bow.
against Brakazan, so we better get started. Item the first.
All the paths to the rest of the base are shut tight. But get me to a console, and I'll take care of that.
Strike's been started for a while.
Turns out Zahn's network is different from the Red Legion's.
Good different or bad different?
Did I just see a flare shoot into the sky?
Look, let's not get into what might have shot into the sky and which enemy just summoned a bunch of reinforcements.
He sounds like
There we
you.
go. Scout rifle kills. We can switch over to the blast furnace. There we are.
That tank just exposed a solar fuel cell.
I can't believe it. You were right. He grabbed it.
That's what I would have done.
It's not what anyone should have done.
We did it! And we didn't blow up.
Yeah, not blowing up is as good as you can hope for sometimes.
Way to reach for the
There we
stars.
go. Some of those kills. Final blows getting you down. Yeah. Hey, get off me. Ugh. And as a result of these final blows, you have a lot of people that are running mobility, because that's the only way to get the final blows is if you get to an area first.
Cabal usually like to be found.
This guy's no ordinary space rhino. His weapons ain't half bad either.
Those weapons have snuffed out too many good people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't get me wrong. He'll still deserve whatever this fire team gives him. They always do.
They always do.
The ship is still here.
Zahn moved in after you put Thumos down. Surprised he hasn't painted the place chartreuse to match his armor.
I'm sorry, painted
Oh,
it what
dropped
now?
a tank. That's nice.
Tank! One of ours, I mean.
Vanda Holiday was able to scrounge one up. Try to keep it in one piece.
into the ship we go. We're coming for you, Zahn.
He's got a lot to answer for. Be thorough.
Well, it wouldn't be a Red Legion base without another indoor tank.
Oof, that hurts. Yep. Sorry, buddy, I'm not bringing you up. You're kind of running around anyway.
That tank's between us and Brackus Zahn.
I think you should blow up the tank.
Precision kill.
He's a master tactician.
Nope, nothing for pulse rifle yet. Ooh. There it is. Pulse rifle kills. Ow. Oh, melee striker. Nice. Still gotta sit there. Let's see. G-Man. Oops, wrong one. 75. That's it. It's because he's got the
Zahn is here.
strafe.
And the flame turret. Is he using the flame turret?
Yes.
I haven't been getting a lot of special ammo, have I? Oh, I don't want to mess with this guy. There goes Kirby. Oh, wanted guy.
We're here. End of the line for you, Zahn.
Watch your 6 and your 12. You know what? Just be careful.
Target eliminated.
Great work, fire team.
Okay, y'all are getting way too formal. Where's the energy? Let's hear some chatter out there, huh?
The job's done, Cade. You can handle the chatter for a while.
And away we go. Alright, so as a result of the power problems, where you don't really get any more powerful versus an activity right around 10 after. Once you hit 990, that's as strong as you're going to get. So it doesn't make sense to grind for any more powerful gear. So with the power cap, or powerful drop, capped out at 960 currently, and the pinnacle caps out at 970. If you get to 970 and then get the artifact to plus 20, then you're done. So you don't even have to get to 970 as long as you can get that artifact up to compensate for the loss. And with each additional season, they've been increasing power by 10, which really doesn't make any sense because it makes the power grind less and less relevant. When the powerful cap was 950, oh, this looks familiar. It made a lot of sense. Oh, I did want to switch this to a solar.
But his legacy lives on. Whispers on the wind suggest that he took a high brood queen as his consort. No, I'm not one to obstruct unholy matrimony. But Elixir ingenuity paired to high ferocity? No.
Anyway, when it was 960 as the pinnacle cap, 950 as in Shadowkeep or Season of Undying, it made sense to go for the powerful or pinnacle drops, because getting plus 30 on the artifact was extremely grindy. It meant doing a whole lot of bounties and doing a whole lot of activities and getting that artifact up high enough to where it actually mattered in terms of the pinnacle activities. You could do the pinnacle activities at any point, but like I said, you're going to be at a disadvantage, and you were going to feel like you're at a disadvantage. Even at 990, I think you still feel like you're at a disadvantage. I can switch back to that scout rifle now, since I'm done with pulse rifle kills. I do need solar kills, and I need hive kills. Anyway, like I was saying, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to have these final blows. Minimally, I think that your teammates should count for at least part of the kills, if not entirely. One guy's running through, and the other... I think the other two guys are actually running through. There we go, Solar Striker. What do I still need? Oh, supers, I'll get that. And 28 hive. But I can use anything, so I'll probably use the scout rifle. Easier to get. Who's I getting shot from? Oh, guy from behind the rock. So next season, season of the Worthy, possibly, or season of Worth. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to call it. But it's going to be less about power, which is not that great, because you're going to be able to get up to at least 970 as the powerful cap, and then probably 980 as the pinnacle. More than likely, if this season is any indication. What the heck? There we go. There's a super killer here. There he is. What? Did I take him out? I guess I did. Where's the chest? Shouldn't it be over here? One of the things I don't like is that the
This worm is radiating
oh, there it is.
ether too.
The Tangled Shore, you have to be right on top of the chest, and this is a minor thing. You have to be right on top of the chest in order to get the drops from it. Anywhere else, as long as you open it, you get the drops. High value targets notwithstanding. That guy's still here. Where'd all the enemies go? So with the triumphs, with the artifact being get plus 20, if you're into triumphs, then you're going to get plus 20 anyway. And if the powerful cap is at 970, then you absolutely have no reason to go for any pinnacles. Because the power that you're going to get from the artifact. Even though it's temporary. You know, one of the reasons why they did the artifact was because they felt like, you know, you can't just keep going up and up and up with the power. You eventually have to hit a cap. And that's true. You do need to hit a cap at some point, and it needs to be a hard cap. But that also means that there should be something other than a power grind in order to get players interested in playing. So it shouldn't be only about power. You know, if I'm interested in playing, great. Then I'll play. If I'm only playing for power, then it makes absolutely no sense for me to go for anything in the upcoming season, because the power is going to come to me. Wow, that was fantastic. I think they've done a better job with making Glimmer more pertinent. For a long time, people were complaining that they had too much Glimmer and nothing to use it on. They had things like heavy ammo synthesis, which gave you... I'm pretty sure I got it. Let me see what... Yep, I got all the hive. I just need 2 more strikes. So, oh. Tangled Shore. So, what I'm basically saying is that the Destiny 2 experience is pretty shallow if the only thing you're doing is going for power or going for items. If I'm here and I'm doing the strikes because I want more power, it doesn't really make sense. Partially because... What in the world are you guys doing? Partially because it doesn't make sense to, oh, they had the glitch. How much do you want to bet they had the glitch? That's why they were taking so long to pull me forward. Here I was waiting for them to pull me forward and they couldn't because... Oh, because it was glitched. Guy's like, where is this guy even at? I went forward enough that I didn't get wiped with him, but not forward enough to actually see what was going on. Wow, 1 out of 2? Oh no, they just died. Never mind. Here I was like, man, that's crazy. There was 2 of those glitches that... Nope. Just bad actors. Alright. I didn't take that guy out. Boo. Ow. I think there was one guy that left because he had his kills.
There's the queen.
In terms of what they're doing right, I think some of the perks are nice. Even some of the ones that are this season's perks, weapon perks, I should say, not artifact perks. The artifact was supposed to be an experimental module where they could try out different perks and kind of see what they like, what they didn't like, and if something was broken, it didn't really matter because they could, it would go away at the end of the season. Ooh, ouch. Oh, you're dead, buddy. Oh, there we go. There's the third guy. Seriously? Oh, there we go. He's down.
Watch yourself.
Thank you. So I think Destiny as a whole is not very deep of an experience because you get your level up, you get your weapons and your armor, and then you're done. You don't really have anything else that you have to do. Those guys didn't come down, did they? Nope. So there's not a lot of reasons to play once you get your weapons and armor and power. So like the lead from gold is an interesting perk, as well as the Vorpal weapon. Pardon me.
Spider, we cleared out the nest.
Oh, so quickly.
I got a patron of Lost Causes with Vorpal weapon, and that seems to be
I want a fair
pretty
trade.
decent.
That wasn't the agreement.
Oh, there was no agreement. Little more.
Now, in terms of the artifact, the first one for the Season of Undying was pretty experimental, but now it is kind of settled on, you've got one that gives you extra resources, either glimmer, planetary resources, etc. You've got one that does, targeting, loader, or unflinching. You have another for barrier, overload, unstoppable rounds. And then you've got the last two, which are supposed to be more useful and experimental, but they tend to be this. There's several that are the same. You have your heavy finisher, void battery, which is the same as last time, except it was arc battery last time. From the depths, exactly the same. Solar plexus, increased damage of all solar melee abilities, versus I believe it was void. I want to say it was void last time. Guardian Angel, that one's the most experimental mod of them all right now. Breach Resonator, that's the same. Overload, Grenade, that's the same. Disruptor Spike, that's the same. Unstoppable Melee, that's the same. Tenderizer is different. Temporarily boost weapon damage. So there's not so much experimental values than kind of doing the same thing over and over. And that seems to be their biggest problem right now. Bungie's just kind of going through the motions, doing the same thing over and over. Even talking about the seasonal activity, which currently, like I said, is the sundial, which you have Cabal, and you fill up the gauge, and you go on to the next one. And there's a timer and blah blah blah. And that is the same thing that we had with the Vex invasion, except it was Vex instead of Cabal. And even before that, looking at, say, like the Dreaming City, you had the Blind Well. And looking at Mars, we had Escalation Protocol. And those were all the same versions, or different versions, of the same activity. All the way back to Destiny 1 and the Archon's Forge. And that is where it was actually new and different. Now, some of these were public areas, and then you have things like the Forge, which was a match-made activity with 3, and then you have like Menagerie, which you have both matchmaking and make your own team at a higher difficulty, same as the not Vex Offensive, but Sundial.
My hidden operatives tell me the Cabal have caused some kind of anomaly inside the Infinite Forest. Multiple squads from your first visit have been copied. Osiris is concerned. But if
I guess in general, I'm just wondering what they're doing at Bungie. What exactly are the resources for? If they're using their resources for seasonal activities, it is really, really hard to believe that they're using all of their resources for that. What the heck are you doing, Blueberry?
The geometric data I'm reading from this
I
architecture.
mean, we get, you know, a couple of, what the heck?
Like reality trying to decide on a version
Couple
in
of
life.
exotics.
In the forest, time itself is in flux.
I don't like it.
You're showing up on the tracker.
Which some are better than others. And speaking of exotics, I would really like to see them work some on exotics and exotic slots. Because right now you've got a couple of... Nice. Exotics that have, you know, unstoppable or anti-barrier, but if you have, say, scout rifles that have the ability to have anti-barrier on it, why do we not have anti-barrier available on exotic scout rifles? Having a, or maybe two exotics that have anti-barrier is very confining. It's kind of like, I don't want you to play your way, I want you to play the way that I'm telling you to.
They can try. This forest is mine now.
The Vanguard would disagree.
I didn't ask them.
You know, the thing that Destiny should be doing is working on their depth of gameplay. They should be working on making Destiny more, or a deeper experience, and they should have been doing so all along, not just starting it now. Oh, this is always fun. Seriously. So Bungie's been expanding or making it wider, but it's kind of like going to the pool, but only going in the kiddie section. You know, it only comes up to about, you know, just below your knee.
While you were fighting, I was thinking of a way over that ramp, so I simulated your Sparrow. It's good to go.
I would like to see Destiny be more like, an onion that have layers to it, that it could be accessible to, casual players, and casual players can play, and it wouldn't be, a harrowing experience. It'd be something that they could enjoy at their level. But people that are more interested in the hardcore gameplay would have more levels to deal with, or more layers to deal with. And I think part of that is building the depth of the game, not just the width of the game. So everyone talking about bringing back the Cosmodrome or bringing back the Dreadnought, I think they're missing the point. That's making a wider game, not necessarily a deeper game. It could aid in the depth of gameplay, but in and of itself, it's not. And, I have no qualms about bringing back, say, the Cosmodrome or the Dreadnought. But honestly, at this point, you're looking at getting rid of something in order to bring something back. So what are you willing to get rid of in order to have that nostalgia? I would much rather have them have, say, armor that needs to be leveled up, weapons that need to be leveled up in order to be more useful. Maybe you can't masterwork it without getting experience in it. There we go.
So, where's this Valus?
Wait for it.
Come on.
The Vex activated their security
Almost had him.
They see you and the Cabal as invaders. Relax. It worked out fine the first time.
Hooray, we beat him.
They've activated more lasers.
It's hard not to admire the artistry.
It's really not. The Valus is down.
Ah, for crying out
Shake
loud.
the sense of deja vu. I feel like we've done this before.
You were here in spirit. I was using your show.
Yeah, I remember now.
Alright, so speaking of that, let's talk about Armor 2.0, and of course perks and weapons, etc. As a general item. I'm going to go... Actually, I'm going to go to the Tribute Hall. There's a lot going on out. There's a lot of space out in space, but there's not a lot of space when it comes to Destiny 2. And when we get down to the Tribute Hall, I'll tell you what that means. In terms of armor, now supposedly you're supposed to be able to get a high roll piece of armor off of just any old drop. Most of the time it's right around 50. Somewhere between anywhere from 46 to I've seen as high as about 59, and that is still not, for base attributes, very good. I mean, look at my boots, they're at 78. Alright, so looking at the vault, 488 out of 500. Partially, it's exotics, but then also you've got like couple weapons that have duplicates or triplicates, because weapons that you have that you're not necessarily sure of in terms of perks. Chi-Town Hitter says good morning. Good morning to you too. Weapons that have different perks for different activities, or perks that you're not necessarily sure about which one that you like versus which one that you have gotten. So you end up with several versions of the same weapon, and that takes up more space. I think that they could get rid of a lot of the duplication if what they do is make the perks interchangeable. So take all the perks off and then set it up where you can put the perks that you want on there as, say, drops from different enemies. And some, let's say, like Heavy Guard, maybe that one is a more rare drop than Swordmaster Guard, or looking at a fusion rifle. Let's see. Here we go. Maybe Rangefinder is a rare drop, Snapshot Sights is an uncommon drop, and then something like Ionized Battery is a common drop. And so you get all these from different enemies, and then you can put them on. And there could be different levels of effectiveness. So you need, say, Glimmer and some sort of resource, and I would say unified resource for all weapon mods, where Rangefinder, it actually says how much it actually increases the effective range and zoom magnification, so that when you're using it, you know actually how effective it actually is. And it may start off at increases the range by 1%, and then it has maybe 10 levels to it. Just as an example, it could have 5 levels, 3 levels, 10 levels, 15 levels, and each level that you go up increases the cost. So maybe it starts at 1%, and then once it's maxed out, it goes up to, say, an extra 10% or 15% or 20%. And zoom magnification goes from like 1.1 to 1.8. So you have this layered effectiveness, and as you use it more often, the gun itself becomes more effective and it does more damage, or maybe the impact, range, handling, stability, reload, maybe those things increase slowly as you go up in level with the gun itself. So there's the power level, and then there's the level of the gun, and it can go from 1 to, or even 0 to 50 or to 30 or whatever. So I think that would help deepen the experience. In terms of Armor 2.0, I think they have gotten rid of some problems only to replace them with other problems. So previously you had, I'm pretty sure I've got a 1.0 in here somewhere. So old Armor 1.0, you had only mobility, resilience, recovery, and you had random mods that you didn't have any control over. It just was what it was. So for this one, we had rocket and shotgun reserves, enhanced sniper rifle targeting, remote connection, and then resilience and recovery mods, and you could choose between them. So it had intrinsic value in mobility, resilience, and recovery, and then you had these random rolls on it. But then, even then, we had masterworking on a 5-point scale, which increased your damage resistance to a certain element in PvE and PvP. It would reduce, once you had it masterworked, it would give you a 5% resistance while your super was active in the Crucible. So it worked both in PvE and PvP, and it worked very differently in both. And then you could put a mod on it, so you could increase the intellect, you could increase your discipline, your strength, you could increase your mobility, resilience, recovery. And this was all Armor 1.0. And of course, there was a seasonal mod that went with it. Now, with 2.0, you have attributes that are intrinsic to it: mobility, resilience, recovery, discipline, strength, intellect. And you have these general mods, one slot for a general mod, kind of like before, that you could choose mobility or intellect or strength, but those are different amounts of energy. And energy is important because you're talking about a total of possible 10 energy, and beyond that is impossible. So although my old helmet had enhanced sniper targeting, I don't think I have enhanced sniper targeting. Oh, here we go. So enhanced sniper targeting is 6 energy, and then if I wanted to add resilience, recovery, mobility, that would be another 3, so that would be 9. And then have extra sniper ammo finder, which would be 3. So that would be 6 and 3 and another 3, or 12. And that would put you over the 10. So you can't even have the same kind of rolls that you used to have on Armor 1.0 on Armor 2.0. And there's no layers to it. There's no levels to it. So it just is what it is. You get a mod and you put it on and you're done. If I got a piece of armor at 1, this is a blue one. I should have kept one of those. Let's see. I don't know if oh, here we go. So if you get 1 and it's at energy level 1, you could go straight from 1 all the way up to energy level 10. And you don't have to do anything other than spend Glimmer, Legendary Shards, Enhancement Cores, Enhancement Prisms, and of course Ascendant Shards. But if you have all those things, as soon as you get a piece of armor, you can upgrade it fully from energy 1 to energy 10, and there's no real time investment in order to do that. So I think that they could spend some more time and deepening the experience where it takes some time to get that up to energy level 10, and find ways to increase the efficiency of the armor, so then you can maybe go beyond energy level 10, and you can maybe go to energy level 15, so you can have some of those perks. And maybe these perks, bow reserves, say, gives you an extra 10 arrows initially, and then as you upgrade it, you can get an additional 10 or 20. So making these where they have a depth to them, that just picking it up or picking the game up and playing, you could play casually. If you're playing hardcore, then you have more to do. That's what I'm saying. So as of right now, I would say that there's not a lot of reason to grind for power, because power doesn't really matter. Pinnacle activities, when you're looking at your pinnacle activities, they're at 980. So we're close to 980 as just a powerful cap, let alone, pinnacle cap or artifact edition. So the grind for weapons, the grind for power doesn't matter so much because you're going to be getting it, because you're going to be doing those seasonal activities over and over again anyway, and it only makes sense that people are going to be disenfranchised. Veterans, maybe not so much casual players. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to ring the bell and check us out on social media. And thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.